So, Sealed with a Kiss is a drama series about an innocent and kind-hearted girl who is blackmailed and held captive by a spiteful businessman. And gradually, after a whole lot of sufferings and revelations and crying, their attitude toward each other change, and they even appear to have something romantic near the end together. That's the overall premise. Now, despite the generally good reception, there are also a lot of negative reviews, and many of them accuse this story of romanticizing a case of Stockholm Syndrome. Of course, Sealed with a Kiss isn't the only one or the first one that's gotten this feedback. Many popular films and books have also been criticized for the same reason. Practically anything with Beauty and the Beast theme. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, Stockholm Syndrome is not a diagnosable disorder. It is rather a psychological condition in which the victim of kidnapping develops sympathy or positive feelings toward the captor. While that sounds rather fitting in the case of Sealed with a Kiss, and is perfectly convenient to put a label on it, especially if you already dislike the show for whatever reason, let's take a step back and look at the formal definition of Stockholm Syndrome. It is a complex reaction to a frightening situation. In other words, a defense mechanism when your mind is taken over by fear for survival. To better understand this, let's examine 5 of the basic characteristics of Stockholm Syndrome and see if this is really the case with Sealed with a Kiss. The hostage develops positive feelings towards the captor. Tongxue eventually does change her attitude towards Mo Xiaojian, but only after she's established that there are layers to what he displays outwardly. If I have to pinpoint it, I say she starts to question her opinion about Mo Xiaojian when he says this. And this is after he already let her go once. During this time, Mo Xiaojian is less of the assertive and controlling jerk he was before, so Tongxue changes her view toward Mo Xiaojian after Mo Xiaojian has shown her that he is kind of different. And this choice of Tongxue is completely rational, in contrast to someone with Stockholm Syndrome, whose conscious mind is taken by fear and therefore irrationally leans toward the captor. The captor develops positive feelings toward the hostage. Mo Xiaoqian, on the other hand, finds himself in love with Tongxue, yes, but this happened long before their hostile involvement with each other, when both of them were ignorant of their family history. The hostage rejects his or her friends, families, and rescuers. Untrue, Tongxue maintains a great relationship with all of her friends. The hostage doesn't want to leave the captor. Now, if you've seen the show, you'd remember that Tongxue constantly makes plans to escape, constantly dreams about the day where she could leave Mo Xiaoqian. And the first chance she gets, she takes it. Yep, just like that. She doesn't even stop to think about packing some clothes along. No, she does come back to Mo Xiaoqian later on as part of the deal to save her friend's father's business, but once again, this is entirely a conscious choice, and deal is the key word here. The hostage exaggerates small acts of kindness from the captor and uses them as reasons to sympathize with the captor. In the show, Tongxue acknowledges whatever nice things Mo Xiaoqian does for her, but that's the extent of it. She absolutely refuses to use them as an excuse to sympathize with him or to overlook his terrible behaviors. Evidently, when she refuses to visit him in the hospital, you know, when he passes out because his puppy dies or something. The point is, if he treats her with kindness, she responds with kindness. If he's crappy, she either calls him out on it or puts on an act of tolerance in front of him because of the deal they made. Tongxue has never set out to fix this guy. She's never believed that he could change if she's nicer to him. And she definitely doesn't believe that they could be together or anything just because she can heal his pains or whatever female leads nowadays do. Now, when we get to the end of the story, on the other side of the spectrum, there's a whole lot of complaints about why they didn't get together and why Tongxue doesn't express that she loves Mo Xiaoqian back and everything, but I'm gonna say that that's kind of the point. I don't think what we see from Tongxue in the end is even love. Her crying about Mo Xiaoqian at the airport is more of a reaction to a revelation, a realization of what could have been between them if it weren't for their family feud. And it depends a lot on how our viewers interpret this relationship. To say that Tongxue is in love with Mo Xiaoqian despite everything she's gone through by his hands would be really problematic. But according to what we've seen, it isn't love. Attraction? Yes, but love? That's debatable. And definitely, given all of Tongxue's actions, I would say she's not a case of Stockholm Syndrome. What she has instead is the usual idiotic female lead gene, or to put it more nicely, an obsession with self-sacrifice. Because remember, she's not even with this guy because he takes her against her will. It's because they made a deal. And I mean, just looking at them, I'm pretty sure she can beat up this guy anytime she wants to, okay? But seriously, Tongxue constantly victimizes herself with the justification that everything she does is for her family. And she does it without sensibly accessing the situation from the beginning. And this is a whole different kind of issue. So hopefully that was helpful. Let us know what you think, and until next video.